Hi everybody, my name is Alannah and I am in first year. I'd like to talk to you today about a few things you can do to help visually impaired people all over the world when you meet them. The first thing I'd like to talk about are a couple tips to help you communicate with a visually impaired person. Tip 1, communicating. You can talk to a visually impaired person like you would any of your other friends or peers, but when leaving the conversation is where we can have an issue. If it is just you and myself in the conversation, you can finish up the conversation and kindly tell me you're leaving. However, if there are multiple people, please make sure to approach me and let me know you are leaving. A tip for teachers: if you're leaving the classroom, please make sure to tell me, and when you're coming back into the classroom, make sure to tell me also so that I know if I have questioned that you are there. Tip 2, saying hello. When you're walking on the corridor, many people are kind enough to say hello. However, 90% of the time, I might not know who you are. So if you can say your name when saying hello, that would help me a lot so I would know who it is. Tip 3, independence. Visually impaired people can be just as independent as anybody else. Most visually impaired people will use a cane or a guide dog. A guide dog is a dog trained to help visually impaired people find where they need to go. A cane is a long white stick with a black top and a roller on the bottom that visually impaired people hold in their hand and swipe left to right to move things out of the way, and if there's something in the way to know it's there, but also to symbolize that they're coming, to ask people to move out of the way. I personally use a cane, and you may have seen it as I'm walking through the corridors. Many people think visually impaired people need more help than most. However, this isn't the case. A lot of people are kind enough to ask for help, but if denied, please try not to insist, as this can make us feel quite uncomfortable. Tip 4, testing. Most of the time, when people find out I'm visually impaired but can still see, they become quite shocked. And there are two ways I've found people react. Some ask me and listen kindly to what I have to say. However, others decide that it would be a good idea to test my vision, asking things like, "Can you see that thing in the distance over there? How many fingers am I holding up? Are you lying?" Please try not to do this at all costs, as this can make people feel extremely uncomfortable. The next thing I'd like to talk about is technology. A lot of the time, when I tell people that I have a phone or a laptop, they wonder how I can use it. But there are many different ways, but here are a few of the ways I do it. A laptop. When I use a laptop, I will make the writing on the screen bigger so that I can read it. I also use a sort of voiceover app called NVDA that will read the screen, what I'm typing, the apps, and etc. But there is also a device that you can write Braille on, that can connect with Bluetooth to the laptop so that I can read Braille instead of straining my eyes reading the screen. A phone. Many visually impaired people that use a phone use VoiceOver, which is quite similar to NVDA, being that it reads the screen. However, I find this can slow me down and it doesn't really work properly for me. So I use just my eyes and my vision to find my way around. Like the laptop, the writing on my phone screen is bigger so that I can read messages, but also I try to ask my friends and family to send voice messages when texting me so that I can read and respond. I will send voice messages back, as I've tried all the different keyboard settings and none of them are big enough for me to see. And finally, the Polaris, which is what I'm using to give this presentation on. The Polaris is a Braille device that you can read and write Braille on. It works very similarly to a laptop, but obviously just with Braille techniques. It has the 6 Braille typing keys. It has a backspace key for deleting things, an enter key for entering things and making new lines, and many other things. You can read and write emails, and you can connect to the internet and send audios, record audios. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I hope this has given you a bit of insight and information on how I do things and how you can help as well.